This is NHTV2, North Haven Government Television, a service of North Haven Community Television. The following program is brought to you through the support of the Town of North Haven.
Good evening. Welcome to the February 22nd, 2022 meeting of the Board of Police Commissioners for the Town of North Haven. My name is Larry Lazareff, Chairman. To my left is Robin Wilson, Vice Chairman. Our Secretary, Mark Calafiore, is absent tonight. Commissioner Alden Mead, Commissioner Robert Hannon. Can I have a motion, please, for the approval of the minutes of the January 10th, 2022 special meeting?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Pass. May I please have approval of the minutes of the January 25th, 2022 meeting, both regular and executive sessions?
So moved. I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Our Secretary, Mr. Calafiore, is not here this evening, so Commissioner Hannon will be asked to read the correspondence for the evening.
Okay, we have a one letter here to the Chief, Kevin Glenn. This is Dear Chief Glenn, on behalf of the Naugatuck Police Department, thank you for allowing Detective Sergeant John Casper to serve as a panelist at the recently held oral board examination for a position of detective. Police departments being able to provide resources is essential to the promotion testing process. We greatly appreciate your willingness to assist and to help ensure that the most qualified person rise in their department. Sincerely, Charles W. Sherwood, Director.
Excellent. Thank you very much. For Chairman's report, I'd like to say that the Chief and Deputy and Commissioners attended the budget workshop this past week, or last week. The Chief will go into that, but may I say the Chief did an outstanding job, thorough, concise, and we appreciate all your efforts, and Deputy as well. Thank you very much. There will be promotions upcoming because of the retirement of Captain Remington. That's always an exciting time, and I'm sure the Chief will expand upon that as well. Just a friendly reminder to please, when you're walking or jogging, either early morning or late evening, to wear some kind of bright reflective clothing, because it just makes it a lot easier for everybody to see you, obviously, and eliminates a lot of risk associated with being out there in dark clothing. And then also another reminder that please lock your cars, lock your doors, lock your sheds. We can help prevent these problems that all communities are having by being proactive and helping ourselves. So that's about all I have this evening, so I'm going to turn this over to the Chief for his Chief's report.
Thank you. I'll start with our budget. We're currently at 61.6% expended, which puts us in really good shape going into the end of February. We are well under our self-imposed limits that we try to stay to every month. As you know, we had an uptick in overtime between December and January, between the holidays, some COVID illnesses that forced us to hire officers in overtime for replacement, as well as the increase in training, which costs overtime. But we're still able to stay under our self-imposed limits. As the Chairman indicated, on the 16th, we presented to the Board of Finance our requested budget. I think it went over fairly well. The next step is the Board of Finance will get together next month for their normal meeting and discuss it. Mr. Fried will then present it to the town meeting, and then there will be a referendum for everyone in town to vote on the budget. The big ask that we presented and hopefully justified was an additional 3 officers for next fiscal year. So between this current fiscal year and next year, it's an additional 6 uniform officers. Towards the end of last year, we used a $35,000 grant for crime suppression, as well as just under $10,000 for distracted driving, and we were awarded, but we haven't used yet, additional $25,000 grant funding. That's our JAG grant for 2022. We have 2 categories. One is crime suppression, where we're going to use for overtime and targeted patrol shifts. We're also going to use that funding to pay for overtime, working with the New Haven County Shooting Task Force. This is a task force that addresses violent crime in New Haven County, not just specific shootings and murders, but carjackings, crimes that are associated with firearms. It's a good initiative that we began last year with some great support locally. We have an officer assigned to that task force, and they stay very busy and help us here in North Haven often. We're also going to use some of the funding with that grant for community outreach, and hopefully this year, if COVID continues to trend downward, we'll be able to have our first Citizens Police Academy in over 20 years. So we look forward to that. And no request for traffic signage for the board, but under the traffic division, Officer Dennis Flanagan is currently assigned in that division. We have a sergeant and 2 patrolmen there. The 1 patrolman position we're trying to rotate out every 4 months to give different officers some exposure and experience and add some value to that division. He's doing a nice job. All 3 of those officers, a sergeant and both patrolmen, attended a recent training that the DOT put on, Connecticut Transit put on. It's for the electric buses that they're rolling out throughout the state, the safety concerns as it relates to responding to accidents with electric buses. We anticipate to take delivery of our new Ford SUVs soon. The traffic sergeant put out to bid the cost and coordination to upfit those vehicles. So hopefully we'll get those in our fleet fairly soon. And the Chevy Tahoe is lacking a little bit behind the Fords as far as taking delivery. On the new personnel, our newest police officer, Colin Hearn, who was sworn in last month, as you know, has been working here every day with some early training, some preliminary training, going over policies, general orders. He's spending time in different divisions here to get acquainted with how we do things. We just today found out that we were confirmed with 2 academy seats in the Milford Satellite Academy. That starts on April 21st. So Colin Hearn will be in one of those seats, and we will be doing interviews next week to try to fill the 2nd seat. I may be coming back to the board. I'll contact the chairman to possibly request a special meeting to interview potential recruit officers if the internal vetting goes well.
Where is that, the 2 seats? I'm sorry.
Milford Police
Milford,
Department
okay.
holds their own satellite academy. So Colin Hearn and the 2nd officer, if things work out well, we expect that class will graduate in October of 2022. After the 12 weeks of field training, both those officers will be in a police car by themselves, contributing to the town basically this time next year, so a full year from now. As the chairman indicated, we had promotional tests. The retirement of Captain Remington created a captain position, and then the trickle-down effect. We plan to promote a captain, a lieutenant, and a sergeant. That testing procedure is scheduled for the first week in April. For the sergeant position and lieutenant position, there's a written test as well as an interview in front of a panel of police officers. And for the captain position, it's just 100% an interview panel. So by the April meeting, we should have a list with rankings and scores for the police commission. In terms of recent crime, I outlined very briefly at the budget workshop, and I'll go over that again. This is last calendar year compared to the average of the last 5 years prior to that. For calls for service, we were up 27%, stolen vehicles and shoplifting is up 40%. Theft of parts from vehicles, this is the catalytic converters or stealing wheels off a vehicle. That crime's up 45%, and our overdoses are up 20%. Mm-hmm. The FBI statistics for the first half of last year, so quarter 1 combined with quarter 2, shows all offenses are up 18.4%, and crimes against persons, which is the violent crimes, robberies, carjackings, assaults, that's up 17.1%.
Chief, let me ask you, are our numbers pretty much similar to surrounding communities, or?
I would say so, yeah. The region, as well as most of the state, is seeing the same trends. That's right. And, everyone can opine on what the reason is between COVID, juvenile justice reform, the judicial system, but I think it's just a combination of really everything. Just today we had an overdose incident where Officer Dawson responded. He was able to provide Narcan to the victim of the overdose, and that individual was transported to the hospital, still alive at that time. So it's something that unfortunately we do fairly routinely, giving Narcan to overdose victims, but we're happy that they're trained and they have the ability to provide that service. There were 3 stolen vehicles in January, all recovered, 1 processed by our detectives. Since the 1st of February, there were an additional 5 stolen vehicles for a total of 8. So we're still trending high this year in that category. We had an attempted theft of an ATM during overnight hours on State Street in January, where the glass doors were broke. They tried to chain the ATM machine, the ATM, and drag it out of the store. It was unsuccessful. Our detectives are working to identify suspects. We're working with detectives from other towns. This is an incident that it looks like the same crew is going throughout the state committing these crimes. Recently, there was a local jewelry store that somebody attempted to burglarize. We believe that the suspects are part of a larger ring of individuals doing similar crimes, not just jewelry stores, but high-value targets. The vehicle that was used in our local attempted burglary was recovered. We believe suspects were identified, and we anticipate arrests to be made in that crime. As you'll see in your packets, the Uniform Services Division reports look a little different. With Captain Remington's retirement, Captain Stradrides is overseeing both investigative services as well as Uniform Services Division. We wanted to add a little more information for those monthly reports. We provided a breakdown of what patrol sectors these different crimes and incidents are taking place, as well as days of the week and the hours of the day. It's basically some of the information that we look at when we make decisions on deploying personnel on different shifts, different locations, different times. So I think those reports will be more informative for you folks. I have no requests for the Benary Scholarship this month, and just prior to executive session, the town is still providing the at-home COVID tests for residents. You could pick those up during business hours at the library, the senior center, park and rec, and community service. And that's all I have for a report.
Excellent, excellent. I did notice the addition from Lieutenant Stavridis, and I think it's very informative. So please extend our gratefulness and thank yous for him, because I think it serves us a little bit of knowledge that you guys work with every single day. So I appreciate that. Any questions?
I'm good. Nothing.
Nothing? Okay. Brief meeting. So do I have a motion to adjourn for the purpose of going to executive session for personnel matters?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So we are back now into open session after having met in executive session. Personnel matters were discussed. Any questions? Any comments?
No.
Okay. Do I have a motion for adjournment?
Make a motion to adjourn?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourned.
The preceding program is brought to you in part through a grant from the town of North Haven. Watch town meetings or other videos on demand at nhtv.com.